Hello and welcome back to the Spin the Rock podcast. I'm your host Angel, and with me today is my co-host.
Vaughn.
All right, Vaughn, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you while taking a nap?
I don't know, waking up in a cold sweat. It's like, damn, now I gotta fucking change out these sheets later. That's as brutal as it gets for me. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm lucky.
yeah, I would say you are lucky because if you're Harrison Barnes, it's getting an ankle injury and being out for I think what I think I again I so before we get into this, yes, that is true. I thought this was a meme. I saw this just passing on like Instagram or Twitter. I don't remember which one. I saw it, and it was formatted like a meme post where it's like picture of the player and then like bold letters to say blah blah blah. No, Vaughn just told me. I want to say 10 minutes before we started the podcast that was real. Vaughn, why don't you take it take it away? What did the headline say?
Well, just like you, I seen it in the meme post. The meme pages were posting this because it's so unreal.
Yeah.
But yeah, he like had a prior ankle injury, but in his nap, like somehow re-aggravated it. And that's basically the sum of it. But like this has to be up there with like John Wall slipping and tearing his Achilles. Like
Yeah,
not as
bro.
severe, but it's just as goofy.
Yeah, bro. That's insane to me. Um, how is he taking this nap? Like, how, is he sleeping on like a Lightning McQueen bed? Like, what is? How does this even happen? How do you? Is he fighting demons every time he takes a nap, bro? Like, it's crazy that he re-aggravated an injury. It's something that could be the most peaceful thing in some people's Sundays is taking a nap.
I think he's literally just physically fighting his nightmares while he's napping. You know, that could be the only justification. Uh, and maybe we should be thanking him for that because if he loses and those nightmares get out, it's hell for the rest of us. So thank you, Harrison Barnes.
All right. Well, on to the probably the biggest news and the only news people actually care about is Jason Tatum after what a ruptured Achilles, right? Something crazy like that. Um, is back. He made his debut yesterday, right? Or
Yes,
uh,
against the Dallas Mavs.
the 6th of March. Uh, so crazy. Probably the quickest and maybe ever we might ever see is turnaround from an Achilles injury to being back in time to be hot enough for playoffs.
And I was eating that shit up, man. I I seen the crowd go crazy. You know, he just got like a putback dunk. Crowd goes crazy. He makes a three. Crowd goes crazy, and for good reason. Like I don't know what the expectations are for himself, and especially for Coach Missoula, because I could never read Coach Missoula. That man is a wild card. So I don't know what Jason Tatum's role is going to be. Like, do they want him to, you know, come back to All Star Jason Tatum, or is that rushing them? Do they want to take it slow? I don't know. But there's a lot of ways they could approach this. Like, he could even just be like a Clay Thompson type role, where like he's a spot up shooter and he's still dangerous. He's still a 20-point threat that way. But I think he had 15 points in that game and looked very promising. And I think it definitely raises the expectations going into playoffs. Uh, but I think some people are getting a little too ahead of themselves. Like we don't know how long it will take for Jason Tatum to return to All NBA player. Um, and some of the discourse has been really silly too. Like we're back to this backwards way of thinking. Is like, is this Jalen Brown's team? Is this Jason Tatum's team? It's like it doesn't matter. Like they've never really, been contentious about this against each other. They've sacrificed, just for the sake of winning, and I don't see that, being different this time around, just because Tatum's come back from injury. But I'm so excited. I'm very glad to have him back. Like, how lucky am I to have my franchise player do like some like never before done you know, surgery and recovery process where he's back in under a year from an injury that takes a year and some change at least.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah, this is probably. I don't think we'll ever see this again. And this just kind of proves that Jason Tatum is not human. That man is a robot. That it's like it's insane how not well, but like probably better than most people's normal recovery time after an Achilles like injury. Like he did pretty well that game, and then and it's also in like a never before seen time like recovery time, like that he was able to put up 15 and get put back dunks and almost move as if he was like a role player, but in reality, it was a man who just had the biggest injury you could have as a basketball player. It's wild, and I can't imagine how he'll look when or if he gets fully healed before playoffs, because that's terrifying, bro. That's like actually terrifying.
Yeah, just to get him like a month before playoffs even start is like such a relief because then he has a little bit of time, to get back to where he was,
Yeah,
or at least find a new role on the team because the team is deeper than we thought. So we'll see
yeah.
how this shakes out, but I wonder if this sets a precedent or not. Like you said, you probably will never see this again, and I see why because Jason Tatum throughout his career has been so injury he's been very durable, up into this Achilles injury. So
Yeah,
maybe he is just a freak.
yeah, yeah. Um, Embiid is pissed, bro. Embiid is like, what kind of medical team do they got over in Boston? I've been having the same injury every single season. Um, all right, but that's really it for news. It's been mostly purely basketball so far, uh, ever since the All Star break ended. But with that being said, we're starting to see teams fully fledged after the trades they had made, and so with that being said, I think it's time to really tell who's a contender, who's a pretender, and who's actually gonna be sleepy or surprisingly good, a sleeper pick, someone you don't think would do well in the postseason, but might actually do well. Why don't we kick it off with contender?
I feel like we just have to get it out of the way, but it's the Thunder.
Yeah,
I know since the 2020s, there's never been a back-to-back NBA champion, but we've seen that they're somehow even deeper than last year. Like some guys have taken a jump. They've added Jared McCain, who's been stellar coming off the bench.
yeah,
Uh, Like that guy, I think we've said before, maybe he's an all-star, maybe he's not, but at the very least, he's a good shooter, a good scorer, and that's what they got. That's what they needed while Shea's been out.
mm-hmm.
So they're deep. It's annoying how deep they are. But at the same time, we've seen they're not invincible. Like here we are, early season, we're like they're going for 70 game wins, and then we saw that end so quickly at one point. Like like a short stretch, it was just like, oh, the 70-point games at large, it's at risk of not even happening, and then it just very quickly vanished after that.
Yeah,
Um, but they are the same team, just even improved from last year.
mm-hmm.
So it's really difficult to count them out. And throughout all these, whether it's contender, pretender, or whatever, I've tried avoiding worry about injuries because I could say that about any team. So I can't really say I am worried about injuries, especially with the Thunder because they have so many guys to fill different roles.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like that's an obvious one in the sense of you cannot speak about contenders without like bringing up the Thunder, but also they're also looking very strong. But for I think my surprise, they do look beatable. Whereas last year, I'm like,
Mhm.
damn, this team is low key unbeatable. Now we've seen the Spurs kind of handle them. We've seen the Nuggets take up to 7 not too long ago, and we're seeing teams who should easily be no worries kind of trouble them a little bit. Uh, and so I feel like yes, they're still a contender, but also they're a little bit more. There's more dents in the armor this year, and so I think that's why I feel like if they do go back to back, it's gonna be impressive because they're. I feel like any team right now in the West, like the Spurs or Nuggets, can maybe etch out a surprising upset.
Yeah, and I feel like they're also at risk of, having, so many guys, like a Lou Dort, we know he's going to play aggressive defense, or Alex Caruso. Maybe they can coax those guys into, draw getting more fouls,
Yeah.
and then maybe they're not as much of a factor, or maybe SGA doesn't get as many fouls in the playoffs, foul calls, but we'll see about that. And you know who their shooters are, so maybe you can limit them. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways I think we've seen them lose this season,
Hmm.
and maybe one of these playoffs teams hones in on that and really can wipe them out in the playoff series. But as much as I would love a shakeup like that, it's really hard to see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, my team is another West team, and I have the Nuggets. I wanted to avoid saying them, but I feel like they're contenders in the sense where if they get to the Western Conference Finals, they are probably making it past that point. Like if they can get there, I could see them actually getting to the finals. What scares me though is that this year there's a chance we might not get there. There's a chance we go out in the second round, and that's because right now our team is looking very disorganized. Aaron Gordon hasn't been playing quite that bit. Jamal Murray has his usual injury runtime, where he's just on and off. And then Jokic for the first time since I can remember. I literally can't remember the last time he was injured. Um, he had a pretty major injury. Was out for quite a bit, came back, and then went out again, and now he's fully back for the first time since then, and he's been looking guardable. And it could be that the injury he's still recovering, um, or it could be that it's because it's his first big one. This is our first time maybe seeing what that looks like, and if it's gonna change anything. But like at the same time, with that being said, if Aaron Gordon and Peyton Watson and Jokic are all semi healthy for the playoffs, that's a scary team because Aaron Gordon is probably the glue of our team this season. He was like better than Murray at some points this season, and Peyton Watson has become a different type of player since the last time we've seen him. He went from your normal, defensive kind of guy to now where he's really good on defense, but also he's showing some offensive capabilities. And he's like showing that he can drive in the paint and he can get jumpy sometimes. So it's like this team that is good for all the different all the reasons we didn't think of it, because I think we were thinking Bruce Brown's back. They actually have a backup center. Cameron Thomas, not Cameron Thomas. Whoa.
Johnson.
Yeah, I don't know why I said because they're both on the Nets. Cameron Johnson, um, those are all gonna make this team better. But in reality, it's been all guys who've been here for a fat minute. Cameron Thomas is actually looking again. Cameron Johnson is still kind of slow to fitting with the team and finding his role. Um, and then Bruce Brown, not really doing that much as he did for that first run. So it's just like they're still contenders, but I feel like they're also good for very different reasons than what most people thought they would be good for. And those reasons right now are either hurt or still recovering from being hurt. And so I can see if they do lose in the second round again, I wouldn't be surprised. But I think if they get to the Western Conference Finals, they're most likely gonna win a championship. And you know,
Right. I would definitely throw him as a contender too. What was that?
no, go on.
Um, yeah, contender. I think they're just more question marks about the Nuggets than the Thunder.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, I think one thing that doesn't get focus is who's going to be their third guy, and it should be Aaron Gordon. But if Aaron Gordon's going to, be injured, we don't know when he comes back. I feel like I haven't seen a consistent guy who steps up to that role. Like I thought it would be Cameron Johnson, but he's more, playing the system, and I think the offense is healthy that he's not, taking every shot like a Michael Porter Jr.,
Yeah,
even though he would probably be that third guy. I thought Christian Brown could step up to that role, but he's taken a step back, I think, in volume for offense. Like he's not
yeah,
scoring quite as much. And, Peyton Watson could be that guy too, but he's also been injured. So I just don't
yeah,
know who that is. Sometimes it's like this guy will, score 20 or 30. Like Tim Hardaway Jr. will just randomly have a great game.
yeah,
So I wonder if, you can get some consistency at that spot, but like it's been how long into the season we don't really see that. Maybe they don't need one if Aaron Gordon does come back and he's 100%, which would be ideal. But you know, I don't even know what that timeline looks like.
yeah,
Um, 'Cause I think what was it, a calf injury, which you don't want to rush back a calf injury at all, bro. With these Achilles injuries, yeah, like Aaron Gordon needs that time. And as far as this is Jokic. We know what he's capable of, and playoff Murray is a thing. It's a real thing.
yeah.
So they'll definitely be a threat regardless.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with everything you said. I feel like it just really does depend on what version of the Nuggets we're gonna get going into the playoffs, and that playoff Murray's a thing. Aaron Gordon being uh brought back in time to warm up, and then you know, I just think right now there is dense in the Nuggets, and it's more so like not dense like the Thunder dense. It's more so like it's like pieces of a car is missing and you're trying to figure out what pieces those car are because you haven't really like figured it out yourself. Like I feel like right now the Nuggets haven't had a good synergy, and we haven't really seen what they look like fully together and synchronized this year.
It is a positive that they've managed to stay, comfortably in playoff positioning with all these injuries because there's been so much.
Yeah,
Um, so downside is, we don't know what they look like, but they've rallied enough to stay competitive,
yeah,
which is, admirable.
for sure. All right. And then why don't we go into sleepers before pretenders? And I kind of want to kick it off because I had a hard time saying this team isn't gonna be a contender. Um, and that is the Spurs. I feel like the Spurs right now. I feel like people are thinking it's just Wemby. They're sleeping on how good the Spurs are as a team, bro. It's not just Wemby. De'Aaron Fox lit up the Kings not too long ago, bro. And I get it could be because it's the Kings and could have been a revenge game, but it's not the first time playing since the trade, and he still lit them up. Stephon Castle is looking good again. Is looking like not again, but like he did not taking that step back, or he's really found his rhythm. And then even Keldon Johnson, who most people rolled out as like, oh, he's probably gonna be the first guy to get traded. He's looking like he should be one of the main options this year. It's crazy how all of them are looking so good, and it's like they built this perfect team, bro. They all flow so well together.
Yeah, that I would definitely say that was one of my sleepers too, which is odd to say because they're second in the West currently.
Yeah,
But you don't really say that's a sleeper, but they're so young. You, like no one's really truly considering them as contenders.
yeah,
But like you have Wemby, and I think you just have to consider him this point forward, like a Giannis or a Jokic. Like if you have this guy, you're always going to have a chance, no matter the roster around him.
yeah,
Because this man, 'cause, like, you have Wemby, and I think you just have to consider them him this point forward, like a Giannis or a Jokic. Like if you have this guy, you're always going to have a chance, no matter the roster around him. Because this man, 'cause, like, you have Wemby, and I think you just have to consider them you know he's committed. He's out here training with monks. He had training sessions with Kevin Garnett. This man cares about the All Star game. He was actually trying. He was recently crying over winning a regular season game.
Yeah,
He said it's the best basketball I played ever. That's a scary individual. Not even considering like he's an alien, like 7 foot tall, can shoot, can dribble, can score from everywhere, defensive monster. That is a scary guy to go against in the playoffs.
yeah, for
Um,
sure.
and the only thing you could say he's lacking is experience, but he's been playing basketball for a very long time, since a very young age, and I don't see any holes, about him especially. Maybe you can poke some in the roster's shooting, like a Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle. Maybe they will get exposed, but no matter who I am, I would not want to see the Spurs in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what makes them a sleeper team is because yeah, they're young, but like, dude, we seen the
The Thunder
Timberwolves.
blew those doors wide open, bro.
Yeah,
Like
I was gonna say the
they just
Thunder.
want to chip. Anything can happen.
The Thunder won a chip. Timberwolves went to the Western Conference 2 years in a row. Um, like, what was I gonna say? Like, it's not impossible anymore. Look at the Pacers. Like, it's not this thing that would hold back these teams from the early 2000s, even early 2010s. These teams that were really good basketball teams but just weren't quite ready, like the original OKC Thunder with Russ, KD, and Harden. No, that I feel like at this point the skill level of these teams and the way these teams are built, that doesn't matter anymore, bro. I feel like they don't need experience because they have just been perfectly crafted. And I feel like right now the Thunder were the same way, the Pacers were the same way, the Timberwolves were the same way, and now we have the same team who are perfectly crafted or just like one of a kind player and has been dominating the team who just won the championship. Like, I said sleeper like you said, like, because they are really good, but like you mentioned, no one is really saying them as contenders. They just keep saying they're really good. I feel like they're sleepers because I feel like if they get to the finals, they might actually have a chance.
Yeah, especially if like the East is, not nearly as competitive as West. It's like I'm confident about the West being the winner, whoever it is,
Mm-hmm.
but it'll still be a challenge no matter what. But like you said, it is the real tough part is just getting there
Yeah.
because the West is such a bloodbath. And what I love about the Spurs is it does feel like the youth is being used as the inexperience, like that's going to be their downfall. But they are so fast, especially in the NBA's, quick pace, than even compared to like 10 years ago, and especially 20 years ago. They're such a fast team. They're a young team, so they can play like that all game long, it feels
Yeah.
like. Um, so yeah, they're just a nightmare. Really, I really hope we see a Thunder Spurs matchup at some point. Um, if not this year, then it just feels inevitable.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, bro.
Um,
Insane. Go on.
that's all I got for the Spurs. Um, as far as my other sleeper, it was the Timberwolves because for a team that's made the Western Conference twice in a row, they're not really getting touted or respected as a contender. And that's just, I don't know, maybe because they're in the Western Conference. Maybe that's it. Or it could be that they're like 90% the same rosters last year,
Yeah.
but all it takes is a little luck and you're there in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Like you already have your go-to guy in Anthony Edwards. You have your, defense. Basically all five players of the starting roster can play solid defense. Um, and I just maybe one guy on the other team who's key, is out for 2 games, and that's all the Timberwolves need to, squeeze right by. Um, And I do see the flaws in that. Basically, the problems from last season and the season before of like very little playmaking is still there. But I just they're such a threat, and I just feel like they are a slept on team.
Yeah, bro. I feel like right now, sitting where they're sitting, a lot of people will gloss over that, but I feel like when you're in the Western Conference, like if you're a top five seed, you're a good team. Like you are like have a chance of going all the way, and I feel like their flaws are getting picked on a little bit more this year because it's been happening more often. I feel like the thing I've seen more than ever is anti-hero ball. It's been really bad this year, but like you said, that's lack of playmaking. Um, but it's like it works. Like I don't like I hate to admit it. Like yes, it's a flaw, and yes, it loses them games. But at the same time, it's won them plenty. And this
Yeah,
all and like this happened last year, where they were not as high of a seed as people thought they would be. They had some really obvious flaws, and then all of a sudden, those flaws go away. Like their 3 point shooting was really atrocious all playoff game, but those flaws that hurt them all regular season didn't hurt them until the very end of their run. It was just it was what hurt them more was probably them falling for the SGA rage bait. Like that probably hurt them way more than the 3 point
yeah.
shooting. So it's just like I don't know. They they seem to figure it out and they seem to pick apart teams pretty easily. Um, but at the same time, I feel like you can't count them out because of just how good those players are, and they have experience, bro. They've been in the playoffs a lot.
True.
They've been to the Western Conference Finals a lot. They've gone against the Thunder, the Nuggets, dismantled the Suns. Like they have faced really good teams in those runs, so they have experience, and I feel like they can get to that point where if they're in the second round, I'm not counting them out, bro. I'm not counting them out until I see them lose that series.
I would put them in contender, but they have to face an NBA team with a legend.
Yeah.
Like when they took out Steph, when they took out KD, they need, Lakers, God forbid, don't face the Timberwolves. It's a wrap for you because LeBron is on Ant's list. I guarantee you. So yeah, that's just I don't know their motivation. It feels like is taking them down that way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, and I feel like the reason why people are sleeping on them is again because they're not as high of a seed and they had those early season struggles. But flash forward, only 2 months away from the season ending, and they're easily sitting comfortably fourth. Might even be able to take third. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
yeah, it's kind of like we've seen the same problems before. We've seen this all before, and it's like written off like, oh, you're not the shiny new thing on the block. While
Yeah.
the Lakers being here again with a Luca LeBron team up is way more exciting, even though they're probably a worse team.
All right. Well, Vaughn, why don't you tell us your pretender?
Speaking of the Lakers, I gotta throw them as my contender. I think they technically do have a chance. You got LeBron, you got Luca, you have a chance. We've seen LeBron carry worse teams to the finals, but you're in the Western Conference final or Western Conference this time. That doesn't really bode well quite as much as the East.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just their big three should be so much better. Austin Reeves, Luca, LeBron, but they're so bad defensively,
Yeah.
and they've can't really fix it because Luca is not the most gifted on the defensive end, and he'll throw away possessions for the other team to complain to the ref. So that costs a couple points every game, probably. LeBron is just old, and you could see it. He does not go 100% every defensive possession, and Austin Reeves just can get beat a lot of times.
Yeah.
So those three all together is just I don't think there is a solution for that unless one of them leaves. So we're probably going to see that that's going to be their main downfall. But you got like your starting center isn't helping, bro. DeAndre Ayton is like a toddler. I can't believe like it's the same issue every team, no matter if it's. I'm surprised Chris Paul dragged his ass to the finals. The way that man gives up so easily, whether gives up trying to get a rebound, gives up on defense, gives up trying to get open on offense, and this man is just he loves to complain to the media about it, but he's the issue. Like I can't believe he can't see it. Like they're trying to make me Clint Capella. Bro, you wish you were prime Clint Capella. That man was grabbing 15 rebounds a game at one point, and you let the easy ones go by you, like every game.
Yeah.
So that's a concern, and you can't really, throw in your backup center because it's either Jared Vanderbilt who has no offense, or it's Jackson Hayes who I don't think he's the most talented player ever. He does a lot of effort. He's athletic, but there's nothing much else. Um, and this is not even going about like how inconsistent the bench is. Like a Marcus Smart, Jake Laravia, um, who recently Luke Kennard. Like, are these really going to be the guys you have to rely on, to keep a lead in playoff time? It's just they feel like a first round exit to me.
That's fair. I feel like everything you said is fair, bro. Like, it's kind of sad how this team, they have like not a perfect team, but they have a pretty solid team in theory, you know. But it's just like
Mhm.
I don't know what's not working. Like I can't tell you like why they can't seem to click or why, you know, all these guys who are brought in for a reason can't do their job. Like DeAndre Ayton got brought in because they needed a big. Isn't really playing like a big. He's more like playing like he's at LA Fitness, rather than on an NBA court. Um, you know, I just feel like they can't score that well either. Like, yes, there's every now and then where they pull off some insane clutch win, just purely off of the offensive schemes. But I feel like there's also more games where threes are clunking and Luca is just trying his hardest to get a bucket. Even LeBron sometimes looks like he doesn't want to really participate on offense specifically. Like defense, he's old, so that's why his defense is poor. But it looks like he's trying more on defense than he is on offense. You can tell he wants the ball to be run through Luca, and he kind of just wants to be the last option to get a basket, and that shows sometimes when they're passing the ball back and forth between each other before one of them takes a contested shot that either luckily goes in or misses. And it's just like clunky offense and very bad defense, it seems.
Yeah, and I don't know if it is a coaching issue, but it just feels like a roster issue for the most part. Like these guys were never gonna mesh. Um, and I think we saw that in the first month of the season when LeBron was out, and Austin Reeves was basically an all-star.
Yeah,
Luca was at the top of his game,
yeah.
and everything looked so much more fluid, and everyone knew what they were doing. And this is not to pin all the issues on LeBron because it's not. There's a lot of issues throughout this team, but like when he came back, it just like everything was thrown out the window, and they had to relearn, how to play together. It feels like again, and we're
Hmm.
still waiting for that, to all come together, and it just hasn't happened.
Yeah. And like, I feel like JJ Redick isn't a bad coach, but like, I think this was the wrong team for him to pick up because the amount of times he has to like cuss out a player just to listen to him, whether it's Luca, not LeBron, but or Aiton, and like that was a big thing is that DeAndre Ayton didn't get along with JJ Redick, and it was just like, bro, like I feel bad for him because like I feel like there is something there, and we seen it when Austin Reeves was almost like 1B. Like Luca was 1A, but Austin Reeves could also like have time with the ball. I was like, okay, like you're seeing something here, and it mostly looked like the system and the way they were playing. It looked like JJ Redick's found something good, and then flash forward to now, it looks like JJ Redick can't find a system for this team, and then, like, I don't blame him when you have a guy who's basically almost like is 1 year away from retiring, if even. You have Luca, who's been that solo guy for so long, and then you have a center who just doesn't want to be on the court. He wants to he has to drink his crunk juice to be motivated for a game. Like it's crazy. I feel like this team could be so different right now, but I feel like they just don't know. They just don't know how to make it different. They don't know what to do. It seems like.
And they definitely won't find that out, in the playoffs of, all these solutions. It's just going to get more and more exposed.
Yeah. All right. My pretender is not a shocker. But we do it every year for some reason. It's the Cleveland Cavs, bro. They they're a 4 seed, and once again, it's like people are looking at that Men in Black neutralizer, you know, just forgetting what happened last season. Because once again, they're a fun regular season team. They have a good team around Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is playing one of the best basketball he's ever played before. They might actually go to the Eastern Conference Finals. They might make it all the way this year. No, bro. How many times do we have to do this? Where we look at the Cavs, we see them play some decent ball, but it's like they can't beat a good team. They just like it's impossible for them to beat anybody that's higher than a 5 seed. Like, and even the 5 seeds give them a lot of trouble. Like, if you're a playoff team, they struggle against you and they lose majority of those games. And it's like, yes, Donovan Mitchell is playing really good ball right now. And yes, the role players seem to be actually fitting for the team. But we have seen this time after time after time. And I feel like their biggest issue is they're nothing without Donovan Mitchell. And if Donovan Mitchell goes cold or shots aren't falling, Donovan Mitchell has to put the game on his back. And he ends up, having to play pretty poor hero ball. And it's just like, I don't know why we have to do this every year. Like, I'm tired of being a Cavs hater because I don't hate the team. I just think it's crazy how they're a contender every single year after so many failures.
Yeah, I agree. I also put them as a pretender. I think we've been asking for them to make a change for a while. So they did make a change with Darius Garland for Harden, and that really doesn't fix any of their issues.
No, bro.
Like, yes, Harden will probably, hopefully, play more games than Garland. I think the potential for him to unlock Jarrett Allen is higher. Like,
Yeah.
as we've seen already, Jarrett Allen's looked great. Harden probably does take a lot of pressure off Donovan Mitchell, but there's still an awful defense backcourt.
Hmm.
Like, Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell was not a good mix on the defensive end. Neither will James Harden. Like, that will still be an issue. Um, Maybe I would sing my tune differently about this team if Evan Mobley, took a leap.
Yeah.
If he had, taken charge, he wants to be, the number one guy in certain games when he knows he can eat, when he knows the other guy is worse than him and he can feast on him. But it never feels like he calls for the ball. Like when I watch Evan Mobley, it feels like he's playing to get out of the way of the guards. Um, which is not what you want from a guy who is supposed to be a franchise cornerstone, and he is technically, but he's not the one, you know, who
Leading the
is
team.
supposed to drive everything forward. He just can't do that.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen enough years of this where if they are a true contender, it has to be Mobley to be the one to push them towards that end. Because last year he was a defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Like if he's one of the best defenders of the year, it should have been way better turnout than it was last season. And
Yeah,
it's just like you said, it's the same thing every year. They're a contender in everyone's eyes, but then they fail like way sooner. Like they lost to the Knicks in the first round one year.
yeah,
It's just like how embarrassing is it going to be this year? Like they're going to find a way, new and fun ways to get embarrassed in the playoffs, which I hate because Donovan Mitchell is one of my favorite players playing today. But I just there's no hope in my eyes for them to even reach the finals.
yeah. And it's crazy because like I don't know. I think the trade to get rid of Darius Garland for Harden isn't an upgrade, bro. I feel like it's not that much of an upgrade in the sense of like them getting Harden isn't to me they're going all the way. I feel like it's an upgrade in the sense of like maybe they'll have like someone a little bit more reliable, but like they went from oh we need for Donovan Mitchell to win, we just need either Mobley or Garland to step up, like one of those two, and they have a chance. Get rid of Garland. Mobley's the only other person that can really step up at this point. If Mobley doesn't step up, I don't think Harden stepping up is really going to get them far. Because, like, Harden stepping up, we've seen in the playoffs with teams in the kind of same range as Cleveland, and it didn't really change anything. You know, I feel like we really do need Mobley to be the one to push the team forward. And because of that, I feel like I don't know. We haven't seen that yet, and I just feel like right now I can't really say they're contenders because I don't think they're any different from last year. You just changed the names of the guys. You didn't really change the way they play or anything drastically like that. So
Yeah, and we've already gone through a regime change for coaching staff. Like JB Bickerstaff was out. They brought in Kenny Atkinson. Kenny Atkinson looked greater or better, a better fit. And while that remains true, here we are. The same problems still persist.
yeah, for sure. All right, let's see. Why don't we do one more but of your choice? So one more contender, sleeper, or pretender. Which one is a team you want to talk about?
Um, I could go. Oh, I hate to say it. I think the Pistons are a pretender only because in very like close games, crucial games, in the biggest moments, it turns into Cade Cunningham has the one to do everything.
Yeah,
Jalen Duren is an all-star. Cade Cunningham is an all-star, but Jalen Duren isn't an all-star without Cade Cunningham.
yeah,
It just I'm watching, him have to basically create everything for Duren, which like he is a center, I get that, but like it's the modern NBA, and it feels like Jalen Duren, it would help a lot if he could be, a Vooch level of 3-point shooter, but that's just not the case.
yeah,
Uh, and as much as they are surrounded by solid role players, be it Tobias Harris, um, Duncan Robinson, it feels like at certain times they just get shut down and shut out, and they're basically a non-factor at certain points.
yeah,
And I see a lot of them just standing around waiting for Cade to do something. And if that's going to continue through playoffs, they could just be out very early. Like they might not even reach conference finals. And that sucks for a team who has gone through all the trouble to win all these games to be at the top of the East, and you've secured home court advantage, and it might not even mean anything.
yeah,
Um, it's just I don't see this team winning four entire playoff series this season, to hold up that Larry O'Brien trophy. It's just
yeah.
I can't envision it.
No, I feel the same way. I also had him as a pretender, just in case, and that's everything you said. I feel like yes, they're a one seed. Yes, They theoretically should be considered a contender, but their team is very, very unpolished. Like, there's a lot of edges that can be cleaned up. And even though they're a one seed in the weakest we've seen the East in a while. And, it's just like, I can see them getting to the finals, but I think they're just too incomplete to, one, me be confident about that, and two, if they even get to the finals, win more than one game. Because I feel like right now a lot of the Western teams are super polished, and a lot of the East teams are, polished as well. That to the fact where, I like the Knicks can definitely beat them again, you know, um, and that wouldn't be the most surprising thing ever, or Jason Tatum comes back and they get against them in the Western Conference Finals or second round, whatever the seeding looks like, and that experience of the Celtics being such a high caliber team beats out, like, the flashy roughness of the current Pistons, and they don't get it to the finals, or they don't get to the Western Conference Finals. Like, I just feel like they're so unpolished and still very at the starting line that, yes, they're the one seed, yes, they've been the best team in the East without a doubt, but also they're very, very easy to, very easy to get upset. They're probably the team that will get upset. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, honestly. All right. Well, my team I really want to talk about that I had on here is sleeper, and that is the Charlotte Hornets. and the sense of their sleepers, as in they might actually make the playoffs this year. I can totally see them being the eighth seed in the playoffs this year, bro. And I think that's crazy to think that one of the worst teams in the league, like 2 months ago, has a shot of being in the first round of the NBA playoffs. But they've been looking kind of deadly. And they've been offensively, like, dangerous. Like, they look like an offensive machine. Their defense is weak. Their actual style of play is very, very ugly. But, like, if they can outscore any of those playing teams, they only need to do it 2 times. They don't need to win a series of 7. They just need to be on fire 2 times in the play-ins, and they are an F8 seed. And with the teams in there with them, I can see it happening 100%. So they're my sleeper.
Yeah, if this team faces the Cavaliers, they win, bro. That's how they get embarrassed. Um, yeah, I seen recently that LaMelo Ball has if this stat is important to you, but if it's not, whatever. But real plus minus, LaMelo Ball is I think the leader up until at least last month,
Yeah.
which is crazy because he does create so much offense, whether it be, him shooting some crazy shots and making them, or finding the open man, or drawing two defender towards him and then making easier shots for the rest of the team. So that's a very real thing. And then Con Canuple,
Rookie
I
of the year.
never could have pictured him being this good. Rookie of the year, right? Like, and then of course, they have a Miles Bridges, they have a Brandon Miller, so they have their scoring down pat. It's just I think the defense is the area to be worried on. But if they could just outshoot and outscore everyone, especially in that first round, they could definitely be worrisome.
Yeah, bro. And, like, I just think they can, like, they're sleeping in the sense where I feel like most people don't even know that they have a chance of making the playoffs right now. Like, most people don't even know that they have a chance of being in the play-ins and, you know, having a shot at being an 8 seed. I feel like they still think they're that worst team in the league that they were 2 months ago. And it's like, no, bro. They have a chance. A legitimate, and I'm not saying as in, like, theoretically they can't be an 8 seed. No, I mean they have a chance to genuinely beat all those teams in the play-ins with them and getting a first round series. And, like, as in, and they also have a chance of maybe winning more than one game, bro. I'm not. That's a little crazy. If they depending on who they go against, if they get seventh or eighth, um, but they have a chance of just winning like one more game in that first round series, just making it just a little slightly interesting. But as far as anything else, hell no. I don't see them winning the first round. I don't see them actually going to the second round. But like at the same time, I think most people don't see them even making it to that starting line in the first place, and I feel like they can. All right. So those are our contenders, sleepers, and pretenders. Let us know if you agree with us. Who do you have as a contender? Who do you have as a pretender? If you're listening to us on podcast platforms, make sure you give it that good old 5 stars. Leave a review. So we're also on YouTube, so make sure you like and subscribe there for that video format. And we're also on all social media platforms at Spin the Rock for clips, episode updates, and all that good stuff. Started doing episode updates again. I keep saying I'm gonna do clips. I swear, clips are coming back. I just decided to bring them back in the busiest time of the year for my job. So, because I love torturing
Yeah,
myself.
bro. All it took was I hired a hitman, and if he doesn't post clips, the hitman's knock on his door. So he has to.
Yeah, I'm contractually obligated at this point. But yeah, thank you for watching. We're moving to permanent 2 week format also because it's just been easier on us instead of just guessing. It's just gonna be that way for a while now. So we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Peace.